You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Pet Life Radio. This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arada, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a 19-plus year professional pet sitter who's going to give us an insider's view to the life of a pet sitter and how you can find the perfect pet sitter for you and your pets.
You know the expression, cats have 9 lives. Well, what if you can give them one more? The Give Them 10 movement is on a mission to help give cats an extra life. How? With spay and neuter. Spaying or neutering your cat helps them live a longer, healthier life. And it helps control free-roaming cat populations too. Learn more about the benefits of spay and neuter and meet Scooter, the neutered cat, at GiveThem10.org. That's GiveThem10.org.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arada, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a pet parent, a professional dog walker, a professional pet sitter, and an entrepreneur. He's an adventure seeker, a wine snob, a coffee lover, and a big-time cruiser. Platinum on Carnival, if I might add. He's originally from New Jersey, now lives in Kingwood, Texas, near Houston. He's husband to Hale. They have been together for 41 years. He is dog dad to Bucky, Chato, and Lola, and he is founder of Personal Touch Pet Sitting. He is Scott Black. Welcome, Scott, my friend. It's great to see you again.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I am thrilled that you're going to give us an insider's view into how to pick a professional pet sitter, what to look for, what to avoid, all the things. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to introduce our drinking game today. So anybody participating in our drinking game at home, anytime you hear this word,
the secret word is ale.
Take a drink of whatever you're enjoying. But please be over 21 in the U.S. to partake in an alcoholic beverage. Never drink and drive, and always drink responsibly. So I have a sneaking suspicion that you might be between pet sitting visits. So I'm going to assume that you are not having an alcoholic beverage today.
I am not. I am actually enjoying an afternoon iced tea out of my Texas Pet Sitters Association to-go cup.
Nice. I love it. A little shout out to the Texas Pet Sitters Association. You are a founding member of the Texas Pet Sitters Association. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I always introduce this show with a game, and I'm actually having a margarita in inspiration for my cruise ship adventure that's coming. But before I drink all of this and get a little tipsy, I want to get into what it is that pet sitters do for pet parents. And I've come up with a game. It's called Pet Sitter Checklist, because if you know anything about pet sitters, you know that there are a lot of checklists. We do a lot of checklists in the pet sitting industry. So this is going to give you, while I drink my margarita, 2 minutes on my handy-dandy clock to tell me all the ways in which you have helped pet parents. Are you ready to play?
I think so.
All right, sounds good to me. Let's get started. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sitting isn't rocket science. The science is making it happen all day, every day. And I don't mean that lightly. No 2 days are the same for me because I'm a one-man band. Today, my schedule is different than tomorrow. And tomorrow is going to be different than Friday, and so on and so on. And in order to meet the needs of each pet in each home, you need to make sure you have the bandwidth to do that. And, going on to 19 years come July, I would like to think the success of my business has been, my passion, of course, for this, because, this is it's not a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. It's weekends, it's holidays, sadly we have dealt with the happy side of pet care and the not so happy side of pet care, and it goes with the territory. But I would like to think my big success is my honesty and transparency. I kind of joke with potential new clients and say, call me Mr. Cellophane, because I'm going to put it out on the table, and if I'm comfortable doing it, great. But if I'm not comfortable doing it, I'm going to let you know as well, and need to have that two-way conversation, because they may be something that I might say that could raise a red flag too. So again, the name of my business is Personal Touch Pet Sitting. I take it to more of a personal level where my screening and onboarding is all done through a phone call to make sure we're a good fit before we take it to the next level, because they may want me to do something. I just actually literally got off the phone with someone that has a young puppy. It's the first time they're leaving her, and they're looking for someone to spend the night. I don't offer overnight service because of what I have going on at my home. So, I felt bad in saying, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but I hope I pointed them in the right direction to find someone that could.
Yeah. So how did you get into the pet sitting industry 19 years ago? Because it is more popular now than it was 20 years ago. It wasn't as common an industry to get into. So tell me about that journey.
Prior to moving to Houston, Hale and I lived in New Jersey. That's where I'm from. I worked for Citibank. He worked for Bank of New York, but he was in New York all the time. I worked in both New Jersey and New York. So we would have to commute into Manhattan on those days. And if you've ever been to New York or New Jersey, there's the PATH train that takes you from Hoboken into New York. Our train stop was the World Trade Center, okay? Well, in 2001, we moved to Houston in 98. 2001, I was working for a mortgage company here. And when the towers went down, so did the mortgage rates. Well, knowing now what I wish I would have known then, the company I worked for was pretty shady. And they wanted me to pretty much just get people that were in bad loans into worse loans and, profit from. I couldn't do it. I did it for a few months and I was making a ton of money, but I'm like, I can't profit off the back of less fortunate people. Fortunately, that mortgage company is no longer in business, but I woke up one morning and had a panic attack and said, I can't do this. And one sick day became two and two. Anyway, I got the help I needed. And during my little sabbatical, as I like to call it, a dog came into my life. And it was a neighbor's dog that they had found. They couldn't keep it. And they asked me if I could come over and check on it while they were gone. My first pet sitting job, right? Other than when I was a kid and the neighbor's bunny, And I said, well, you know what? Why don't we just bring it to our house? Because she won't be alone all the time. And it was a little Dalmatian puppy, about 4 months old. And this dog just stole my heart. And when they got back, I said, well, are you still going to try to find the owner? And they said, well, we've tried for weeks. She wasn't chipped. She had a collar, but no tabs. It was springtime. I'm sure she was a Christmas puppy gone awry. I said, well, she's not going anywhere. So I named her Domino, which was a big mistake because you never name a dog with no on the end of their name because she never heard it. But that spotted pain in the butt was my inspiration for starting my business. But she was the best medicine, so to speak, for a time in my life where I was just trying to figure stuff out, And she led me to start volunteering with rescue. And I did some pet sitting for the rescue. Perfect case. You adopt a dog from, one of my foster dogs, And then you want to go on vacation, they'll say, well, can Scott take the dog back? Well, Scott's on his 10th foster dog since you adopted your dog. No, he can't.
Right.
And I just said, you know what if these people are local to Kingwood? What if I pet set for them? And they make a donation to the rescue because I was getting some assistance on a SSDI type thing. And I said, I don't want to mess that up, but I would love the opportunity to help raise money for the rescue. So that's how that started. And they were getting such positive feedback. She said, Scott, you need to start doing this for yourself. And this was a woman who I used to pet sit for her crew and her foster dogs when she would travel for her job. And she just said, you just need to run with this and start making money for yourself. And that's kind of how it started. I mean, it's totally reinventing yourself. So that was 2003, 2004. And I took it very slow. But July 1st, 2005, I was a legitimate company, with the state of Texas, insured, bonded, I joined PSI back then. I never know who PSI was that time. There wasn't, like you were saying, wasn't a lot of help back then. I'll give Patty Moran's book a plug. I read her Pet Sitting for Profit book, I think as every pet sitter did. But I have been a member in good standing since 2005. And, also proud to say I was a top 5 finalist for Pet Sitter of the Year in 2007 and 2009. And I finally became Pet Sitter of the Year in 2010. So third time was the charm for me. But, I embrace organizations like PSI and NAPS because, they're all about making us better at what we do. Names have changed, but I have got to see dogs, puppies, and kittens through their life, and I even think it's funny that, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll run into a kid who's not a kid anymore. And they say, hey, Uncle Scott. I became Uncle Scott. And they'd say, you used to take care of Madison when we would go on our summer vacations and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like looking at these kids and I'm like, oh my God, you guys have grown up. I mean, I've watched kids grow up and graduate college or get married or, in all different stages of when I became Uncle Scott in their house. And, I wasn't smart enough back in the beginning to call myself Uncle Scott. It started with a client that got puppies, and they got the puppies and stayed home with them for a week. And then they had to go back to work, and they kept saying, well, Uncle Scott's going to come. And I was visiting these puppies at 10 weeks of age, 3 times a day while they were at work. And, I house trained these dogs, and I taught them how to walk with a leash. And these folks are still clients and like family to me. But I was just happy to do what I was doing, but I wasn't smart enough to say, well, Uncle Scott, and
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
now I wear it with like a badge of honor.
Absolutely. Well, I want to actually get to dig into how some pet parents have reservations about in-home pet sitting. I know some people have stranger danger. I know some people have these preconceived notions where they can't imagine meeting a stranger and then they become Uncle Scott to the whole family. So before we do that, we do need to take a break. We'll listen to our sponsors. And when we come back, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you go from a complete stranger and eventually become Uncle Scott and such a huge resource, a part of the pet care team for this family. There's so much going on. So don't go anywhere. I will be right back with Scott Black.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I am speaking to my personal friend and professional pet sitter, Scott Black, who is based out of the Houston area, Kingwood specifically, and he is a solo pet sitter that provides outstanding pet care for people in his community. He has been in the industry as a professional pet sitter for 19 years, so I know this guy knows a thing or two about professional pet sitters and how my audience, pet parents, can find the perfect pet sitter no matter where you're located. I'm a huge pet sitting industry advocate. I was a professional pet sitter for 12 plus years. I ran a professional pet sitting business, and I don't think that it is being leveraged by pet parents as much as it should be, because in-home pet care is the best pet care there is. I will say it and I will stand by it. Your pet doesn't want to go to a boarding facility. Your pet doesn't want to go to daycare. Your pet loves their home, wants to stay there, and wants a super capable, trustworthy person to come keep up with their routine when you can't do it. So I'm speaking to the pet parents here. Listen to what I'm telling you. In-home pet care is where it's at. So Scott, because I know for a fact there are a lot of people who just heard me say that and are like, but I don't want a stranger in my home. We're going to play a second game. And it's called Stranger Danger. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and you're going to tell me how you approach these hangups that people may have, how you finesse this relationship so that you go from a stranger to a truly reliable pet care professional that really saves the day sometimes when people get sick, when people are injured, when people are traveling, when people are overwhelmed. Here comes your pet sitter to save the day. But at some point, everybody starts as a stranger, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. The first question that I have for you for this game is, how do pet parents get more comfortable with the idea of having a stranger in the home? In general, how do you persuade them to open their mind to this possibility?
Part of my initial screening, let's say, I don't use pet sitting software to screen my clients. I'm very old school, where I pick up the phone and talk to them. And one of my first questions is, hey, how did you get my name? Because you sit for my neighbor, or I'm so-and-so's sister-in-law, or Pet Ranch, who's a local independent retailer. They do grooming and pet supply and food and stuff. They gave me your name. Well, I pet sit for the owners of this company. If you're getting a referral and 19 years in, I mean, I'm going to say the majority of my business is word of mouth now. I don't have to market per se. I educate about professional pet sitting now when I'm out in public versus, trying to get new clients. Years ago, I had some helpers and I decided it wasn't for me. And I went back to a solo model, and you know what? I sleep better at night. That's another layer of putting people at ease. Of course, businesses with staff, you had a business with staff. The nice thing that a solo sitter can do is give them that consistency where it's the same person coming 2, 3, 4 times a day, where there's some dogs that wouldn't care who walked through the door, but there's other dogs or cats that may not. So that is another layer of, well, you know what, it's going to be me. And, I understand that your cat may not come out right away and just say, leave your card, I'll call you when I'm ready. But I don't take it personally. And I don't cut visits short. I will go sit on their couch once my duties are done and put on like a YouTube video of like cats meowing or this or that. And before you know it, little head pokes around the corner, but I'm going to make a liar out of these people to say, you'll never see my cat, So there's just something about talking to people, and then they say, well, do you have pets of your own? Well, yeah, let me tell you about my blind deaf guy and, this and that. And I think just having that conversation, to circle back to the first question you asked about what is a professional pet sitter, credentials are very important to me. even as a consumer, if I was going to hire a contractor to do work in my home, are you insured and bonded? Is the electrician and the plumber you're going to send here, are they licensed? Background check, insured bond. I mean, I don't need to be bonded, but I am bonded because I think it gives peace of mind. I mean, again, to any potential clients out there, I'm not going to steal from you. I have my own flat screen TV. I mean, you may come home and find a ransom note because I fell in love with your dog or cat, but I joke. I, as part of my service, offer taking in the mail, picking up newspapers that are tossed on the driveway,
Yes.
putting out trash or pulling in your trash can, alternating lights and blinds or drapes to give your home that lived-in look. Like, I just show up like I'm supposed to be there. And again, I do not advertise on my car, and I do not wear branded clothing when I'm working because I just want to show up and like I'm supposed to be there and not raise attention to the fact that maybe out of town. There's a whole debate about that. You could put 10 pet sitters in a room, and 5 will say do it and 5 will say don't. And you know what? There's no right or wrong. It's
the right is whatever the client. Exactly.
And it's funny. I had a longtime client, another client from years ago who has since passed. She got very sick right at the start of COVID, and it wasn't COVID related. She always said to me, Scott, if I don't come home, promise me if you can't keep, she always called her cats the babies. If you can't take the babies yourself, promise me you'll find a good home for them.
Right.
Well, when she got sick in March of 2020, she passed May of 2020. Was it 2020 or 2021? COVID was 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was May. She actually, and these cats were older now, all senior kidney cats. She cut her son out of the will and made provisions for these cats and begged Tail and I to take them. She's like, I've made provisions. Like, well, no one's going to adopt senior kitties with kidney issues. And so we took the 3 of them in, and sadly, they've all since went home to meet mama. But it was a very interesting experience.
I bet.
I'm not in a position to do that for every client, but the stranger danger goes from stranger danger to peace of mind.
You've made it really, obviously anybody watching this who's a human is on board. Obviously this person cares. Obviously this person has experience. Obviously this person is reliable. Obviously you've covered all the bases. But what about for the people who say what my pet's not going to be comfortable with a stranger coming in the door? What do you say about them? How do you win over the pet while the human's gone?
Okay, so, of course, I don't take on anybody without a meet and greet first. We are going to see how Beethoven or Cujo responds to me coming in when I come and meet the family. Where I live, nobody uses their front door. Everybody uses a side door. They come and go through their garage. Front door is stranger danger. You know what I mean? So
in a lot of cases.
Let me come in the door that they're used to you coming and going from. And, if it means you meet me outside and I walk in with you, they're going to be like, well, okay, he might be okay. He's cool. But I've also been in situations where the dog will get between me and their pet parent, and they're just protecting them. Treats work well. I always tell people, please have treats readily available. I'm not going to bring anything because I don't know what allergies your dogs may have. Just please have some available because we need them.
Or dietary restrictions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. As a male, part of my screening process, again, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but this question triggers back to when someone first reaches out to me. How did you get my name? Where do you live? Let's make sure you're in my service area. I'm a one-man band. How does your dog do with men?
Yes.
Because if they're not good with men, I'm in a community where a lot of people do rescue dogs. A lot of dogs get dumped in Kingwood and people end up keeping them, or they adopt from local rescues, which I love. I'm a rescue guy. All of my pets have been rescues, so I have a soft heart for rescue dogs. But, if they're not good with men, I'm just going to say, look, I am part of a professional pet sitting network here. I said, here's the name of 3 females that one is a large breed dog gal. She loves the big guys. She likes big mutts. And, I would give her a call first, so again, it's part of offering a service, even though I can help them. It's no, but, and I don't take it personally, again, as a guy in this industry, I don't want to say we have obstacles in our way. I think the obstacles we have are different because of being a guy.
Yeah.
And I don't want a strange man in my house. Well, okay. Do you want a strange woman in your house, or you just don't want a stranger in your house?
Right.
I mean, I'll go there.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting because a lot of times people think that the dog or cat is not comfortable with a man, but who's really not comfortable with the idea of a male pet sitter is the human. And I've actually written for one of my clients, I wrote about how she gets a lot of pushback because obviously she's an employer. She needs to be a fair, equitable employer. So she employs males and females. And whenever she says like the name of the guy, she'll be like, Todd, Kyle, Mark, they're going to come over for the meet and greet. She gets pushback. As employers, we can't say like, I can't hire you because you're male. That's the first issue for me as a professional pet sitting business owner. I had to like explain to people, I hire everybody who meets the requirements of my hiring.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
And so a lot of times it's not the pet, it's that person. And maybe it's a female who has a complex history with men.
I understand that. I don't take it personally.
And sometimes it's the man, right? Like not all men are going to make your dog uncomfortable. There could be something about the man. Maybe he was wearing a cap. Maybe he was wearing a cap and sunglasses. Maybe he's a really large man and they're not used to it. But it doesn't mean that they can't become friends. It doesn't mean that your pet is completely anti-man.
Hal and I fostered a doggy years ago that supposedly, was not good with men. Of course, we foster failed and she stayed with us, and best thing ever happened to her. But, she was like, yeah, you guys are okay,
Yeah.
Part of being a professional in this industry is to not take things personally.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I ask that question, I want someone to be honest with me. And the nice thing about having that dialogue versus filling something out on a pet information sheet in software, not that there's anything wrong with that. But when I ask the question and there's a little bit of a hesitation, the light bulb goes on and go, are they not being honest with me? Or, it can go both ways. And again, I don't take it personally. It's just not worth it. It's just
no, of course not.
It.
There is a client for everybody. There's a pet sitter for everybody. And that's really an important message here for me is that there is always, if you are looking for a pet sitter, you need to start 2 months before you're leaving minimum, because you might need to interview a few people.
Or, they'll be like, well, we're not just quite sure how he's going to do while we're gone. Well, we've got 2 months. I said, I don't want to leave you hanging, but is it possible we can schedule a couple of visits for me to just pop in when you're not home and see if he'll let me in the door? And, can I get him on a leash and can we go for a walk, or can we go out in the yard and I can get him back in? Or said, you don't have to be gone for hours, but
when it comes to the human, you can't convince the human who doesn't want to be convinced. So like if you're watching all this, you've listened to this whole episode and you're like, I still am not comfortable with a pet sitter after everything Scott's told you, after the experience, after the certifications, the insurance, the, safeguards, the backup plans that you have and all those things. And this is pretty standard in our industry. To have all these things from a professional pet sitter is pretty standard in our industry. If you're finding somebody who doesn't have a backup plan, who doesn't have, some kind of coverage of insurance, licensing, certification, membership to an association like PSI or NAPS, then they're probably not a professional pet sitter. So that's a whole other conversation. It's really easy to get into the pet sitting industry. It's not really easy to be a professional pet sitter. So, like entering the industry and thriving in the industry are two very different things. So as a professional pet sitter, former professional pet sitter, I will caution pet parents from assuming that every pet sitter is the same. Make sure that they have all these credentials that really make them professionals in our industry. And finally, just know that professional pet sitters also have deal breakers, just like the pet parents. So I want to finish this episode off, Scott, with your deal breakers. Can you come up with top 3 deal breakers when you're interviewing clients and what you're like, no, this is not going to work? I'm putting you on the spot.
You are. And I need to think this through. Well, of course, every other day cat visits are a deal breaker. I won't do it. Or, for caged pets, cats, and, pocket pets and that kind of stuff. Anything to do with your pet or dog off leash, not going to happen.
Okay.
We get up in the morning and Max goes out and helps me get the newspaper in the morning, and then he does his business and we go back in. I'm like, well, I'm not comfortable letting Max out off leash. Well, he won't go to the bathroom. I said, well, we'll figure it out. A deal breaker to me would be anything that someone asks me to do that could put their pet in harm's way.
Got it.
Leash, no leash. And I guess lack of respect.
I was hoping you would say that.
There are some people, again, and this is something that, I can pick up during that phone conversation before having to go to meet them and have it blow up at the table, so to speak. I am a business owner. Yes, I am a pet sitting business owner. I care for pets when families go away, but I do have a business acumen. And the policies that I put into place protect the client, the pet, their home, and myself. And sometimes, like I said earlier, pet sitting is not rocket science. The science is making it happen all day, every day. But when you're dealing with old pets, young pets, sick pets, it's so hard not to cross the line when a human client, and I still don't like the word client or customer because they become part of my family, Uncle Scott. You know what I mean? When they have something going on, I've dealt with clients that had had cancer diagnoses, and it's hard not to cross that line, but you do. What can I do to help? It's hard not to think with your heart sometimes, but we do need to think with our head regarding the business. And I think sometimes people also forget that we have a life outside of what we do. We don't work a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 job. And, part of that respect is, don't text me at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night or midnight and expect me to reply to your text.
Right.
I need to get sleep. And, I don't run my business from my cell phone. I am very old school, as you know. I have a separate business line that even if you are an established client that has my cell number, I'm going to say, Isabel, if you're going to refer me to a neighbor or friend, please give them my business line.
Yeah.
Because that's how I start screening my clients, because I want to see if we're a good fit.
Yep.
Leave your name, address, phone number, and dates of service needed. 1, I know where you live or you don't live, whether you're in my service area or not. I can check the dates to see if I'm available.
Yeah.
2 strikes. You live in my service area, but I'm not available. Call so-and-so. You're out of my service area. Call so-and-so. I can still offer that customer service, but I start screening my clients just through my outgoing message.
Because Scott and I have so much to say on the topic of professional pet sitting, this is a 2-part episode, and so stay tuned for next week's drop of part 2.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.